Aw, for crying out loud, not another one. While the Scott is waiting for record player parts, I'm going to get started on the next project. This gentleman that owns this radio is in a bit of a hurry to get it back too, and I've had it for a while. And what is it? Well, you've guessed it. It's a 1942 small chassis Zenith. We all know what that means. Yeah, we've talked about this before. Let me show you. Sorry about the bad camera work, guys. I'm kind of working on the fly today. Yeah, take a look in there. If you look hard enough, you're going to see it. Yeah, there's going to be lots of it. Some of it's flexible, some of it's not. This one's better than the last one, but you know what I'm looking at, right? This one will have the cracked wiring insulation syndrome. Every single one of these Zeniths from this period has it. Here's some right here. Alright, this will be all through the radio. And the only way to fix it is to yank it out and replace it. I will do my best. These are probably my least favorite chassis to work on. They do sound nice, and their owners tend to love these things because when they're right, they're reliable and they perform really well. So that's going to be that's the status of this chassis. You see all the original caps. I don't really see any repair work done on this thing. I don't know yet the condition of the wafer switch, the band switch. I'll find out about that as I go. Thankfully, some of these wires are better than I've seen on this kind of radio before, so I might get away with some of it not being replaced. But I'll tell you something, if I have any doubts whatsoever, I'm replacing it because I do not want to see this come back. These radios, you want to work on them once, and then you want to put them to bed and have them last for a long time. They're really awesome radios, and I have several of them myself. I have a chair side, I have several consoles. They're really nice, but they can be a real pain. So let's look at the top side of this a little closer. Looks like there might have been a problem with that transformer can. That might have the mica, silver mica disease, but I doubt it. Those cans generally don't see that. I will check it out. Usually it's the real tiny ones. So these wires, some of them are pretty bad. You see this yellow one is shot. There's certain colors are always bad, and then other colors are usually good. Yellow is almost always bad. Orange is bad usually. However, the darker colors, green, blue, are sometimes okay. I don't understand why that is. That's just been my experience, guys. I'm sure you've probably had a different experience. But this will be a good radio. I've gone through one of these before, so I'm not going to get into the preliminary, what kind of radio it is and all that. I do want to document this work because these radios, it's easy to get lost in them as you're replacing stuff. Sometimes you have them apart to the point where you really need to go back and check what you did. So here's the front. Dial's in good shape. The dials are usually in decent shape on these. I usually don't have to do much. Sometimes I'll very carefully and gently polish them, but I'll tell you something, those numbers will come off in no time if you mess with them too much. Here's the other tone control. And you can see there's some of the bad wire disease on this one. These, these tone controls are a pain because the wires are buried down in the chassis. And you basically got to get to them all the way to their source and then carry it all the way out here. You're building a new harness all together and hooking it up at both ends. So they're a pain. The chassis don't look like much because they're tiny, right? You think it'd be easy, but all that means is that you're working a lot in very cramped quarters. Okay, that's the chassis. That's what we have so far. Speaker, if I remember right, was in really good shape on this. I've covered it up because I've had this for a while. I didn't want it to get damaged, so I covered it up. And it's in nice shape. And I will test this speaker just to make sure. And the wave magnet is in better shape than I see most of them. You know, it has a little bit of this stuff, and I'll be real careful with it, and you know, I'll maybe even take a little tiny bit of glue and touch that up. We'll see. Sometimes it's better to leave them be. On these, a lot of times, you don't even need to pull them out of the box. On this particular style, it's easy to get them out of the box because the box opens like a box of Kellogg's cereal, so you can get to them. But a lot of times you don't need to, because this one here I can already tell is going to be in decent shape. Nobody's screwed with those wires. So there's that. This one has a phonograph. So this job will include restoring the phonograph. But I'm going to get started on this radio chassis today while I wait for parts for the Scott. As soon as those record player parts get here, I'll set this aside again and I'll get back to the Scott. So by the time you see this video, the Scott will probably be done and I'll be working on this thing in earnest. But it is very early February. I've already done some work on this. I've worked on the record player quite a bit already. And then the owner gave me permission to go ahead and document in video. So I'm going to, you know, pick the series up, pick the radio up where I'm at, and move forward with a video series on it. Here is a first look at the record player that goes with that Zenith. At first blush it looks pretty rough, but the truth is it's actually okay. This is just a signal cable. Looks like it's, yep, it's hooked up there. These slide controls seem to be in good shape. No problems there. These always clean up really pretty well, so that should be no problem. These are really fairly simple, and they're actually kind of fun to work on. It's a metal tone arm, pot metal tone arm. Pot metal's kind of a funny thing. You have to be careful with it. And this may be more like aluminum than pot metal, but it sure looks like pot metal to me. I'll go ahead and put a crystal cartridge replacement kit in there. It probably won't play as loud as this originally did when it's new, but you can't find the original cartridges. So the replacement kits are basically ceramic cartridges that have been adapted to work in these machines. They're pretty tough ceramic cartridges. Here is the underside of the turntable, or of the platter, or the the area underneath it. And it's going to take some work to get this thing right. But it can be done. I'll test the motor this afternoon. And it's going to need, you know, the usual, they always need the mounting grommets, the suspension grommets. That's okay. The switch is not missing, it's just, I just pulled it out to look at it. Here is underneath that record changer. I'm not sure who made these, if this was, you know, I don't know. Looks like it might even be a Seaberg unit. It looks to me like, for all the world, like a Seaberg. But I don't know that for sure. Here's that switch. I'll check the motor out, and I'll take it apart and clean those bearings and so forth. That's all standard stuff. There will be lots of, you can see it, there's sticky lubricant, and it's going to be everywhere. It's always everywhere. I like these big metal cams, or these big metal drive wheels, because the fact that there's, you know, they're big like that, and more teeth, they actually don't take as heavy a strain. This one hasn't been over lubricated too badly. There's a reed switch. I'm not familiar enough with these yet to know exactly what that is doing, but or how it's doing it, but I'll sort that out. It might be a signal defeat because I see a signal cable going into it. So as the changer is operating, perhaps it kills the sound coming from the tone arm, so you don't hear every noise as the changer operates. That was actually pretty common. Alright guys, I think we've seen what we need to see, and I'll go ahead and get to work on things. Since I've sent the parts off for this and they'll be here in a couple days, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this record changer. By the time you see this video, I will have long pretty much finished this record changer, and I'll be working on the chassis. Alright guys, that's all on the record changer for now.